rendering more than just world-class hospitality education, the International Institute of Hotel Management (IIHM) is a brand that manifests global standards, international expertise, and lives by its motto of Dare to Do. For over 3 decades, IIHM has encompassed every aspect of hospitality and culinary education through its Global Connect program. Its campuses in Kolkata, Delhi, Pune, Bangalore, Jaipur, Ahmedabad, Hyderabad, Goa, Bangkok, and Samarkand are the nerve centers of profound knowledge and experience. IIHM has in its fold international culinary experts, Michelin-starred chefs, iconic hoteliers, and even the nerve center of world tourism, the IIHM Global Center for Tourism and Hospitality Research was inaugurated in 2021 by the UNWTO Secretary General Zurab Pololikashvili, who praised the institution's efforts to promote tourism research amongst the youth. The IIHM College of Distinguished Fellows is another feather in its cap, where iconic hoteliers, chefs, and experts from hospitality and tourism industry have been conferred fellowships. They are the powerhouse of knowledge and experience and are guiding students to become true hospitality professionals. The Young Chef Olympiad did not lose.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back in another episode of IIHM Studio.
I hope everyone is at lunch and energy packed. I'm Pratyak Shatta from third year.
I'm Bhavya from third year. Pratyak, I'm very excited to know who is the guest of honor for today.
Today we have Mr. Sanjay Verghese, Director of Material Management and Food Safety in the Imperial Hotel.
Wow, Mr. Sanjay Verghese, we are very honored. It's such an honor for us to have you here.
Thank you.
So let's welcome the Mr. Sanjay Verghese, the brilliant gentleman, have a 31 years experience in material management and food safety and in hospitality industry. That is in hotels, QSRs, and airline industries companies, and in the Indian subcontinent. If I just remind that he has started his career as the training management of Taj as the finest brand in the world and landed up as the Director of Material Management and Food Safety at the Imperial Hotel. Moving to his vast career experience, he had worked in the finest brand like Hyatt Corporations, Ambassador Sky Chef, Yum Brands, Taj Hotel and Resorts. I believe for today, he is the best personality for the topic, the impact of fuel price hike in the hospitality sectors. Once again, welcome to Sir Sanjeev Sir in the IIHM studio.
Thank you. You know, when this topic was shared with me, I was reminded of my management trainee days at Taj, that what would I talk about to hotel management students on fuel price hike? Because most of us in that stage of life, when we are in our colleges, we are more interested of the glamour, the F&B service, and the kitchens. But fuel hike is very boring. We don't even think about it, isn't it? So yeah. But as we grow in our careers, we realize that why are we in this business, or why are we running hotels, or why are we running our tourism company? The prime objective is to make profits. For sure, luxury is there. The whole element of style and all that, what enamors us in our younger days remains. But what's most important is to make profit and to survive. And I'm sure in these post-pandemic days and a difficult economic situation all across the globe, I would say, fuel prices are a major game changer. Well, let me start sharing my screen, and then we'll continue with the discussion. All right. So, on the outset, I would say that fuel price is bad news for hospitality industry. Okay, if you look at today's newspapers, or if you have been following the economic surveys or the economic publishing companies on economics, you'll all find everybody's talking about fuel price hike. I mean, today in Delhi, it's 101 rupees for petrol, and diesel is almost 97. And the price here 116 is Mumbai, so you can imagine what's happening. And we all definitely have been impacted in our lives, in personally, in our families, everywhere. The price hike is being discussed, on right from the common man to uh, a managing director of a company or an owner of a company, because it impacts. Now, I'm primarily focusing on you as students. I don't want to give you numbers. I don't want to bore you with the gory details of graphs and charts. I want to make it interesting. I want you to take away some basic concepts on fuel hike and your business. Mostly when you are in your colleges, you would look at business as a hotel, or or a restaurant, or maybe a lodging facility. But then I want to cover much more than that. Let's proceed here. You see, hospitality business in total would consist of travel and tourism, food and beverage, lodging, and outdoor recreation, and adventure tourism too. Everywhere in this business, the objective is to make money. We don't start a hotel just for the sake of it, unless you are I would say, unless you are the Tatas. When they started the Taj Mahal in Mumbai, it was not for business, it was a statement. And of course, eventually the business followed. But most of us, our focus is that unless we don't make profits, we don't survive. So we'll look at it more objectively from a business point of view. All these four verticals or five verticals, what I discussed in hospitality business, unless we make money, we don't survive. So, how do we make money? Yeah. The basic question is, you as students, when you are in college, you don't think about these things. There are much more interesting things to discuss, to mull over. But when it comes to numbers, it becomes very boring. We leave it to the accounts department or the accounting classes. But eventually, we realize that when we become responsible for our businesses, that's where the rubber hits the road. Let's look at a broad cross section of the industry here. When you look at my screen here, you see airline industry is one of the part which if you look at the blue section here, right from car hire to airlines to airports, and it's a whole list of businesses here which are part of hospitality. It's not just those four verticals. Now, all these are affected by, if we are not able to match our prices, if the leisure travelers are reduced, if the prices are going up and the business owners are not able to sustain, F&B business will close down. Small businesses. I'm not talking about five-star hotels. We find it very difficult to maintain our standards or maintain our prices. Profits erode. Local travel costs will be impacted. Material cost of the input will increase due to transportation, and cost will escalate. Of course, airlines definitely travel cost increases, and overall it impacts the numbers. Now, all this is just a generic aspect of our hospitality business. But what I want you to focus on is, yeah, all right. So when we look at it as a business, for any business, we need inputs. There is a system, a process. Resources are processed with the help of materials and manpower. We use energy, and of the process, we get a product which is either a service or a product. Now, in hospitality, it's mostly service, and of course, if it's food and beverage, it's product too. To achieve those standards of service or the product, which is the finished goods, we have to invest. And the input here is materials, manpower, energy costs, and the system cost. Any of these aspects getting affected because it's an input into the business has a cascading effect on our profit. It tends to erode. I'm not here to take an economics class, but we all know where we stand when our input cost goes up. Now, let's see, in this whole business of hospitality, I'm now getting into the back end or the accounting part where, okay, there is an input cost of material, labor, and expenses. Now, material also has a direct cost and an indirect material cost. Similarly, labor also direct and indirect. Expenses, direct and indirect too. But don't worry about the slide. What I'm trying to say is, if the fuel prices increase, it has an effect on all the aspects of these heads, input costs. How does that work? We will see how it in the subsequent slides. Here, what you have to see is, in material, if the fuel prices go up, all material purchased becomes expensive. If fuel prices go up, the labor cost, not directly because salaries are fixed, but there is a dissatisfaction quotient which comes up, and our human resource gets impacted. Direct expenses in terms of energy, all the fuel elements have a direct impact. If the prices go up, have a direct impact. We will see in subsequent slides. Now you see, typically in a hotel, these are the major heads for energy: electricity, gas, steam, water, and sundry. Now let's look at what are the sources of energy which we would use in a hotel or in any of our hospitality businesses. All the stars which are in blue, these are all based on petroleum derivatives: LPG, high-speed diesel, piped natural gas or CNG, light diesel oil, and solid fuel. Okay, electricity and solar is renewable, and fossil fuel is coal and wood. These are the primary sources of energy for our industry, be it wood for our pizza oven, or charcoal for the tandoor, or solid fuel for our outdoor caterings, or PNG for our boilers, or LPG for outdoor cooking stations, electricity for our HVAC systems. So all these are sources of energy which our industry consumes, and when there is an impact on fuel prices, all these aspects get impacted. Other than solar, where once the installation is done, it's for us. Rest, even electricity generation, tends to get impacted due to fuel price increase. Now, the question is, why do fuel prices increase? When I was a student, it used to be a mystery, because I was never an economics student. So I could figure so I would want you to look at it very simplistically, that there are 5 components in fuel. One is the production cost, which is called the base price, and the next is the freight, then the excise duty, then the dealer commission, and the VAT, the VAT. Now, what happens here is, say, if the base price, say, diesel is about, let's say an example of 82 rupees per liter. So 31% remains the base price. A 0.45% is only the freight. Excise duty is a whopping 40%, and the dealer commission is 4.43. VAT is 23%. Now you see, we pay a major part of our fuel prices as VAT and excise duty, which is manageable and controlled by the governments. It depends on the government of the day on what to do and how to manage. What we are facing today, if you all you have to do is go onto the internet and see, the whole politics of today is revolving around fuel price hike. And I'm glad IIHM has brought up this subject for discussion. I don't want to get into politics, but I'm sure this has given you a fair idea what happens to that 100 odd rupee what you pay for your diesel or petrol, and who's taking the lion's share of it. Coming back to the increase. Okay, yeah. So also, I was looking at a tweet today on Roz Subeh Ki Baat by Mr. Rahul Gandhi, and it was quite interesting to see what he had to say. I'm sure there has to be a flip side to it and a response to it. But we as students need to be only aware that why is India's fuel taxation is at 69%, whereas rest of the other countries is much lower. So anyway, the reality remains our prices continue to remain high. So, and our industry is impacted. Let's see how it gets impacted. So, in a hotel setting, we are impacted by air travel, our travelers, our international or domestic travelers who travel by air, surface travel, goods transportation, increased food prices, and the cascading effect on all the material prices in the hotel, increased food delivery cost, increased production of hot water and steam in the laundry. Laundry services get impacted because of the dry cleaning chemicals become expensive when fuel prices go up, or air conditioning costs also go up if the generators have to run for generating electricity, which is based on high-speed diesel. Now, if these are the areas which are getting affected, let us see variants of various carbon fuels being used in our industry. So, high-speed diesel for our generator backups, LPG for our cooking, piped natural gas for our boilers, charcoal and solid fuel for food and beverage, wood for again food and beverage, and wax for our candles. Now you see, all these areas all these types are consumed on a daily basis. They definitely have a price impact in terms of our expenses. So how do we manage that? What happens if there is at the moment we witnessed about 9 price hikes in 8 days in this month, a 2% hike in aviation fuel, which has resulted in a whopping 40%, which is a whopping 40% consumption of any airline business. How does one manage that? We have no answers for it. But at least in our industry, we have some hope. You know why? Because our industry tends to always be resilient in terms of human capital. Just manage, look at options. So let's first explore which are the, say in department wise in our hotel, which are the areas if a fuel price impact happens, what happens in a hotel, a typical hotel. Say for example in rooms, the first thing what gets affected is the guest transportation, surface transportation, or airline business. People tend to, any impact on this area, people tend to travel less, or they tend to complain, or the dissatisfaction quotient goes up. Printing ink or printing costs go up high. Rooms division manages the laundry, or the housekeeping manages the laundry. The laundry chemicals go expensive. The packaging goes expensive. All the in-room amenities, which are whatever has any petroleum derivative for production, goes expensive. So, food and beverage, garbage bags, solid fuel, cling film, packaging, hot water generation for cooking or tandoor operations, all these areas get impacted because of a fuel price hike. In engineering, generators, PNG for steam in kitchen, all petroleum products used for maintenance, and the list goes on. There is no way we can avoid it. All we can do is manage it. Be more cost conscious, be more aware of the impact, and manage our businesses, learn to manage our businesses to avoid wastage, to focus more on sustainability, to focus more on aspects of business which can reduce our cost. Now the end. I've given this laundry list of items what we normally purchase in any hotel. All these areas would be aspects of various cost centers where a petroleum price hike would get impacted. Say, for example, if it is food, every food which gets delivered, every food product which gets delivered to the hotel becomes expensive. That cost element gets added to the next price hike request by the vendor. Be it butchery, the feed of the animals goes expensive. Accordingly, the meat itself goes expensive, and then it's passed on to the industry. If you are going for an equipment, again, the fuel hike gets added on to that equipment too. If it is flour, tobacco, spa items, laboratory equipments, everything gets impacted because of a fuel hike. And be it any of these verticals in our industry, hotels, lodges, adventure, all of us use these items to serve our guests. So, what do we do? What's the solution? The solution is to mitigate this price hike by being first is to be aware of the risk of a price hike, hence plan accordingly, provide cushions in your costings so that your budgets are maintained. Acquire knowledge on these aspects of business, how and from where alternates can be developed so that we are not energy intense businesses, but we are able to bring in alternates and save costs and be flexible. There was a time where industry standards were fixed, but today we all have to be flexible to learn and adjust to face this reality called the price hike in fuel, which all of us are impacted with. Thank you so much. I'm available for questions now. Yes.
These are some questions asked by the IIHM students.
Our very first question is, what steps can we take or strategies we can adopt to overcome the effect of fuel price hike in hospitality?
You're audible, sir?
Repeat it, please.
Our very first question is, what steps we can take or strategies we can adopt to overcome the effect of fuel price increase in hotel industry?
You see, as I said repeatedly, what we as a business can do is manage our consumptions. We can't. The market forces or the political forces control the fuel prices. So there's no way we can control fuel prices. However, we can manage our expenses by controlling our operations well, by being aware of the impact, the negative impact, what will occur on our businesses if we don't manage it well. So awareness and then flexibility are the two tools which is available to us to mitigate this effect. But there's no way we can go out and, for sure we can send out representations as a federation or an association of hotels or airline catering companies or airlines. But the forces are far bigger. We are all business people. We have to manage our businesses. Hence, our parameters have to be controlled by ourselves within the business. So, mitigation at our own levels is what is most important. For that, it's awareness and flexibility and adaptation. Thank you.
But another question is we have, as per you, what are the major controls that which in the hospitality sector can do to cut down the uncertain hikes?
Sorry, what was the last part? Curtail the
Uncertain hikes.
uncertain. See, again, the hikes are not in our control. Let's face it, the hikes are not in our control. For sure, say, for example, if you are dependent on, say, piped natural gas for our boilers in the hotel, there is no way you can control it. It's a pipe gas coming in from IGL into our boiler. We can't store it. Worst what we can do is, or best what we can do is store some diesel with us, which also is limiting in its aspect. But in my experience, the most practical thing for any business owner to do is to be aware and to act and create that infrastructure to be able to adjust to a new reality. Because say if today we are able to generate, say the desert in desert tourism, one can use solar very effectively. In fact, there are technologies available where one can generate water from air. But one has to be aware of it, one has to implement it willingly, one has to have the capital or the wherewithal to implement it in their businesses. But if the awareness is not there, then you are really stuck. Then you are not able to mitigate it. So my recommendation would be that there has to be tremendous knowledge base in all these areas. The investment in knowledge has to be well for the operating department heads, how to propose, what to expect, what not to do, and how to do it. I mean, these are aspects why every financial controller of a hotel would do it. But when it comes to technology, I think the business owner has to take a stand and always willing to be to invest in newer technologies, and that's the only way to mitigate this.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir, for your answers and for your knowledgeable answers, which will definitely help us in the hospitality industry.
One of our colleagues have asked, how is it impacting the room revenue?
In the
Sir, how is it impacting the room revenue?
couldn't get it. Repeat that, please.
So how is it impacting the room revenue? Increase and fuel prices.
Maybe you can type it. I can't hear it.
So how is it impacting the room revenue?
Room revenue.
Yes, sir. Room revenue.
You see, the room revenue will not be impacted. Let's see, in a typical 5-star hotel, the fuel hike is too small a component for the room revenue to be impacted because our margins are so high. Of course, if it was a small business, definitely yes, but not otherwise. I mean, from a 5-star point of view, I don't see it impacting room revenue at all.
Thank you so much, sir, for your knowledge and helpful answers for us. It will help our colleagues in the hospitality industry.
Thank you, sir, for joining with us and giving us so valuable time for this session. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you. All the very best to all the young chefs and general managers for future.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.